Hi fellas, back at the desk. I'm making this video to explain the size of the Hunley. First, I want to start out by, I guess, apologizing to Muggers Models for a misunderstanding. I guess I could have worded things better in my answer to you. I apologize for any misunderstanding. But yeah, I apologize. I'm not good at explaining myself, I guess. So I use too many exclamation points, I think. So I'll get away from using those because sometimes they can misconstrue something that's not meant. So, but anyway, he had a question on the picture. He asked me about scale on this picture, and he thought that the guy was too big for the submarine, and I thought he meant length, but he meant diameter. I think that's what he meant, was diameter, or how round it was. I have measurements of how big the Hunley was. It's 39 and a half feet long, and that was from end to end. That did not include any of the spar or any of that. So from the end of the rudder where that guy is standing all the way to the other end without the spar was 39 and a half feet long. Now, the diameter, or beam as it's called in nautical terms, that's called a beam. And the beam of this is 3.83 feet, which is just over 3 feet long. I should say wide. So if you were looking down the Hunley, and you were looking at the inside of it, it was just a squeak over 3 feet wide. All right, and that's as big as that ship was, as round as that was. So it may look smaller than the guy, but there was no room. Those hatches, those hatch covers were 16 and a half inches at their widest point by 14 and a half inches. They were an oval. They were not round, as you can see. These are correct. They were not round. They're oval shaped. And at their widest point, as you can see where the oval goes, the oval is lengthwise here at the long point here. That was 16 and a half inches wide. So you had to turn yourself sideways to get in. And there weren't no guys like me getting in that thing, okay? Because all I'd do was plug up that hole. And you got to remember how small the guys were back then. The people back then were a lot smaller than we are now. They didn't have no McDonald's or Burger King back then. So, a big guy back then was 5'8", 165, 170. That was a big guy back then. So, I'm thinking, it was made small because you really didn't need that much room, and they didn't know how much room, what it was going to take up. So, but if you look, like I said, if you look down the Hunley the long way, that's at its widest point was 3.83 feet. So, like I said, I apologize, Mr. Muga. I didn't want you to think I was yelling at you or anything like that. I will refrain from using exclamation points. So, but yeah, that's just to give gives anybody a perspective on the of how big the inside of it was. I've also had a couple of suggestions on how to pose this. One suggestion actually was to do this, was to do it like this, and they said that I wouldn't have to rig the spar on. But to be honest with you, I've already made all that stuff. You know what I mean? I already made the stuff for the spar. I made that little ring there. I don't know if it'll focus, right? Cause that little ring that I made back here, plus all this work, you know. I got my firing pin in, and this actually moves. This goes in and out, so I'm actually looking forward to rigging it. But I'm gonna see if I can get a little paint on. I got my hole in. I got the hole in. I did that by drilling it out one side, and then taking the end of a drill, taking the end of a bigger drill, and then just giving it a little depth so it looks like it's a davit. Because I also found it's not only on the painting, but it's also on the plan. So I put it in. But yeah, I actually want to put I think I'm just going to what I'm going to do, I think I'm going to get a bigger base. I'm going to get a bigger base for it. I got to go to Michael's and get one. I have some wood here. I might just cut one here. You know, clean it up, sand it, give it a coat of paint or stain or whatever. So, but that's I wanted to make this just to let you know, like I said, apologize, but if I'm coming across the wrong way, I didn't mean that. That was not intended. So, and then maybe a little bit of information here. So, but that's all. All right, guys. Thank you. Peace out.